our road manager at the time, and his mother sat down and said, "Who is Alice Cooper?" And of course it spelled out Vincent Frenier. And I went, "Yeah, right." You know, I believe that's as far as I could throw in the room. You know, I'm not big into the Ouija board at all. I think that's a kind of a doorway into something you don't want to know about.
Of course, another big, sort of like legendary moment in Alice Cooper history, and of course one that happened right here in Toronto, was the chicken incident, right?
Yes.
So
it was a 7-foot chicken. It was.
But I thought it was interesting because, so it happened here at Varsity Stadium, where I guess at the end of your shows you would have this sort of pillow fight, fly everywhere. Someone throws a chicken up on stage, you not knowing you can't fly, throw it up to the audience, you get ripped apart. Now, in your 2007 book, Golf Monster, you sort of came clean about this and said that your manager, Chef Gordon, actually brought the chicken.
Well, he admitted it after that.
Yeah.
Far after that, but at the time, I'm sitting there going, "Who brings a chicken to the concert?" You see, I got my keys, I got my drugs, I got my tickets, I got my chicken. I'm ready to go, here we go. Because it was just all of a sudden there. Now, I would have known if we were going to do the chicken that night on stage, because I would have been the one that thought of it. And there it was. It was in the middle of all the feathers. And they don't fly as much as they plummet. The bizarre part of that was the first 5 rows were all people in wheelchairs. So they're the ones that killed the chicken, which makes it even more bizarre. And of course, the great thing was Frank Zappa called me the next day and said, "Did you kill the chicken?" And I went, "No." He said, "Well, don't tell anybody, they love it. You're the new geek of all time." And then people will now swear to me that they have seen me kill a chicken 25 different cities. It was at one time.
That was part of the tour.
It was, yeah.
Killing chickens.
I mean, Colonel Sanders gets away with killing billions of chickens. One chicken.
A more serious question. So, you had this string of extremely successful albums and tours, and then you eventually, split off from the rest of the group, and you started a very successful solo career with Welcome to My Nightmare. Is there any sort of way to sort of succinctly sum up how that breakup came about? And do you ever kind of wish you could stay together?
Well, no, it was a really, if there is such a thing as a good breakup, it was a great breakup. There was no bad feelings, there were no lawsuits, nobody was bitter. In fact, I still see all the guys, I still work with them. They were on the last album, they played on the last album. Each one would write a song with me on the last album. We still work together all the time, the original band does. Glenn passed away. Glenn was our Keith Richards. Glenn was Holden Caulfield, basically. He was a Bowery boy. I mean, he really was, though. And it was really hard to go back out on tour. It's like losing Keith Richards. It would be really hard to have the original band without him. But Dennis and Neil and Mike are all playing in different bands. They play a lot with Blue Oyster Cult and that kind of world. But we didn't have a bad breakup. And it really was the fact that we had worked for 7 years without a break. We did, in those days, we did an album and a tour, an album and a tour. We did Love It to Death and Kill It in 1 year. And I think Schools Out, $1 Million Babies were very close to being in 1 year. And when you're 20 years old, 25, whatever you are, you're indestructible. And we proved that a band could live on beer. A band could just live on it. You don't have to eat, you don't have to do anything, you just drink beer, you're fine. For the rest of it. But you do get to that point, though, of exhaustion. Musically, mentally, you're never apart from each other. And we went to high school together. So, I mean, we never, ever were apart since high school. And I think it just got to that point where after $1 Billion Babies, we did 65 cities in 72 days on that tour. And it came to an end. We broke a bunch of the Rolling Stones records for attendance, and it was huge, it was just huge. And everybody wanted to take time off and go away and do their own albums and stuff. And I said, I have an idea for an album. Welcome to My Nightmare that's gonna make $1 Billion Babies look tiny. And I think that's where I lost it. I think that might be where I lost it. But we never ever broke up with any bad blood.
Welcome to My Nightmare. It was just such a huge album. The tour and the whole multimedia aspect of it and everything like that. And part of that experience was getting to work with Vincent Price, who I think a lot of people consider kind of one of the great, even not godfather, but grandfathers of horror. One of the great personalities. What was he like to work with? Do you have any cool stories?
Well, it all happened here in Toronto. We did everything here in Toronto. We filmed the first video of Welcome to My Nightmare on tape about that thick. I remember we didn't know how, the guy that says, I'm going to do this as video, and we all went, what is video? There was no MTV, this was 1975. And we shot the whole thing in 2 weeks. And Vincent Price came in, and he was just part of the band. He said, what do you want me to do? And that voice, we tried to say, who's going to be the curator for the Spider Museum? And you keep coming up and think, well, Christopher Lee, and then Vincent Price. But we're never going to be able to get him. So we called him up and he says, where are you? I'll be there. And he stayed there longer than anybody. He worked harder than anybody. He did more video than any of us. He actually sang some of the songs. We have that on video. I don't know if we're allowed to ever put that out.
That's
he sang, I think he sang Stephen and a couple of things that were just scary. Not because he's scary, because it was his vocal that was scary. But he actually, when we said, here's the script that he actually did on the thing, he says, do you mind if I rewrite some of it? Please, rewrite all of it if you want. So he did rewrite half of that.
Yeah, and he has that, like Vincent, he has that reputation. There was the Canadian, film right around here, that hilarious House of Fright.
Oh, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh, really?
Billy Band.
I'm just looking out there in the audience, and I know there's some fans, so.
Billy Band, that show was like, I'm still trying to find if we put that out on DVD.
Oh, you did?
The whole series, I would love to see that. I watch that every day.
I used to watch, it was on some ungodly hour at 6 in the morning or something, which is so early when I was a kid.
That would have been hard for me.
You hadn't gone to bed yet.
But that was a brilliant show, really, really well written. Everything about it was brilliant. So I saw him on that, and he was a standard on that show. I mean, he was there on every show.
And we've had some of the people behind the show at Fan Expo in years past. He says very similar stories to the one he says of working with Vincent Price.
Well, Vincent Price's wife was as dry and as cutting as any human being could be. Great story behind them. He was telling me that they were coming out of the theater in London, and there was a guy outside begging. And he says, please, he says, you have a pound I haven't eaten in 4 days. And she says, really, you must force yourself. Of course, I gave him 5 pounds or whatever it was. But she was just like that. Everything that she said came out of the corner of her mouth. And it was just like, shh. She went half with it. She was brilliant. Korean. I think it was Korean. He was his wife's name.